guys for coming. I appreciate all your support. It was more that I didn't really know what to expect. You know, when I decided to run, it was kind of just an impulse of something that I felt like I needed to do. There wasn't a lot of thought. My wife came down Saturday night. I was on the computer. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I guess I'm running for politics." And she kind of just looked at me and then went back upstairs like, "Hey, whatever, crazy person." Supportively, right? But she knows that when I get an impulse to do something, I'm going to do it. So and she's been great. I've had a lot of support from her and everyone else. But so I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect as much support as I got from all of you, and I really, really appreciate it. So that's why I wanted to have you here. This is my second home. The school has been basically my life for the past 20 years. Working with kids, families, teaching people. So it means a lot to me that you're here so that you can kind of get a feel for the space and what we do. And our focus at the core has always been about empowering the individual person and getting them to recognize their own quality, not the quality of their whatever ideology they decide to put themselves in. And part of the most rewarding part for me has been seeing some kids come in that are kids, teens, whatever, and they don't understand this importance of the individual. So because they're young and impressionable, they try to cling on to some ideology or whatever's popular. And we have the honor and privilege of teaching them that you as the individual is what matters. You're everything else after that. However you want to categorize yourself, that comes after. And that's what really I liked about the Blue Party, was that it taught that when you want to talk about rights of this group, that group, it all comes down to the individual rights. That's what's first and foremost. And then another big part for us was teaching people, kids especially, accountability. Because accountability is one of the most valuable things. Like responsibility for yourself is one of the most important things you'll have to have. And there's a divide that I'm seeing. Okay? I'm seeing a polarity in between people that do not want to be held accountable for anything and they want everything to be someone else's fault. And there's those that want to say, well, okay, like other people, yeah, they do dumb stuff, but what can I control about my own life? What can I take responsibility for? Because at the end of the day, all you can really control is yourself and your own actions. And that's what we get the privilege of teaching this kid, teaching kids, families, everyone. Adults too also need help with that, right? And it's a challenge to look yourself in the mirror and say, you've got to take responsibility for your life. And once people do that, it seems intimidating because a lot of times they've been taught the exact opposite, right? Find out who I can point blame at and do that and don't change myself, right? When they've been sold that all the time, they don't understand how to take this responsibility. But they can be taught, and it's eye-opening for them, and they start to, surprise, surprise, have more confidence, right? Believe in themselves, not have to rely on the government. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to actually teach a lot of, libertarian, well, not teach them, but reveal to kids some more libertarian, more conservative ideas about self-empowerment, because they tend to not get it, in other places, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm glad you guys you're here. But
I have a question for you, Rob.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're telling this. I love that you're telling this about the kids and stuff. How receptive are they to the teachings that you were just talking about? Like, do you see that they're getting it, and do you see that
they act it out?
Okay.
So they internalize it because it's through the actions they have to go through in order to learn what we're teaching, right? So it's not like we have to convince them. It's you're going to learn some kung fu moves, and then you're going to earn your belt, right? When you get your colored belt, like if the belt's up there, you're going to get stripes on your belt. And the way you get stripes on your belt is by cleaning your room, by helping mom and dad clean the house, by eating the right amount of fruits and veggies. So the stuff gradually becomes intrinsic over a long period of time, right? So it's not like the kids see it and they're like, yeah, I want to learn how to make my bed every day on my own. They don't do that, but they see the black belt that they respect, give them a high five for doing that. The parent is like, yes, please go and teach this to my kid, because they're getting the exact opposite of that at school, right? If I'm told them to clean the room, it's like child abuse, right? So,
doing it with the sword is child abuse.
Yeah.
I was abused severely as a child.
But anyway, did that answer the question? So yeah, go ahead.
Rob, do you teach them that the reckoning day will come? The reason we're teaching our children that they need to learn these things is because when they head out the door and they go to post-secondary and they start work, and then they have their own home or apartment to live in, then reality they'll get a big reality check, and they don't want that reality check. Oh, I guess I should have listened to my mother and learned this, because it is tougher to integrate it into your habits, your routine, by waiting till when you have to use it, but learning as you go. I hope you're stressing that too.
Well, so they get that also so the kids set a goal. I'm sorry, I don't want to, I'll answer your question, but I don't want to bore you with the Kung Fu stuff all night, but there's a point to it. But to answer your question, they set a goal of becoming a black belt, a junior black belt, which takes 3 years. For kids, right, we have a black sash system. For teens, a little bit different, but the idea is they've got to set this 3-year goal. So we teach them that, look, life is a lot about time perspective, okay? And your success in your personal life relies on time perspective. That means how long you can look into the future and see yourself, right? So someone with a long time perspective goes to school to be a doctor. That's 8 years. Someone who wants to pay off their house, that's 25 years. These are long time perspectives, and we say that you can accomplish a lot more setting a 25-year goal once than setting 1-year goals 25 times in a row. Okay, so that's stretching your time perspective. When you're a kid and you're 8 years old, and you set 9 years old, and you set a 3-year goal, that's 1/3 of your life. So that means that when you're 18, you're going to have no problem setting a 6-year goal if you've done this now as a 9-year-old for that black belt, right? So we tell them that because we need that now, so when you guys get to university and everyone's freaking out because they've got to learn all these responsibilities, you already have it. So that's why we need to do this now. And again, it's the same thing. It becomes an intrinsic thing that they internalize. They may not understand it, but the skill set is there. Okay? It's a very good question, by the way. Thank you. So where I wanted to go with that was that Donna was telling me that, and Donna, thank you very much. You helped a lot. When you see the breakdown of all the different polling stations, the one on Russell Ave had like the most. So that was you running around and telling people, I think, in your neighborhood, because it had the most amount of votes, Russell Ave. I'm convinced that was from your help. So thank you very much. But she said when she's walking around with flyers, she's saying a lot of people, they just didn't know, and they were so thankful that she was there to tell them. We have this we have a little bit of an illusion there, that thinking like we have to beat PC, you have to beat liberal. It's not so much that we have to beat them, we just have to beat the ignorance, right? The not knowing. If we just educate enough people who are agnostic, there's enough votes there. And I think that's a big part of what we could be doing. Still, of course, doing what we're already doing, right? But I remind my instructors of this all the time. They get frustrated sometimes because we typically collectively we don't use any politics on the mat. That's a rule. We never talk about politics on the floor, right? So everyone that comes in, we don't talk about politics or religion, other than the principles that might be underlying them, right? But our instructors mostly share the same political alignment, more or less, because it goes with personal accountability. Just the way it is, that's what we like, and it just tends to be on one side, more on one side of the aisle that we see that, right? And they get frustrated sometimes when they talk to their friends and stuff. And I have to remind them, it's not that they've seen and read all the stuff that you've seen and read and disagreed with it. It's that they haven't even touched it yet. You have to remember that, and it'll kind of remind you to keep calm and just educate and expose them to, to the material, and people will get it. Most common sense people will get it because it's common sense, and if they don't, it's because they have some major ideological block that you're not going to be able to fix, right? Someone else with some kind of certificate is going to have to deal with them, unfortunately, right? Sorry, but yeah. So anyway, thank you again for coming. I'm really glad you guys are here, seeing what we're all about and kind of where I'm coming from. We will keep on working on, even though we had a really good run, we'll keep working on it, but we're still going to keep working on exactly what I said I wanted to work on when I was running. I want to work on still fixing the housing crisis. I want to work on fixing the mental health crisis. We'll still keep doing those things. We're still building more housing in St. Catharines. Sorry about the fire. Somebody emailed. Was that? Yeah. It was okay. Yeah, that was us. Wasn't me personally. I didn't light it. But the fire in St. Catharines yesterday that we had, that's our building that our family's putting up, that was a generator test that kind of, good thing it was a test, but it's not a big problem. It'll set us back about a month, but otherwise the building is still more or less going on schedule. And then, we're going to be talking about more solutions for housing that are actually practical. I think, as much as the NDP likes to whine about housing, it just drives me nuts because they don't really know what they're doing, right? Anyone driven by Riordan lately?
Oh, your place?
No, Riordan, off of Gale Crescent in St. Catharines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean the encampment there?
Well,
Like
there's
temporary housing?
the temporary housing
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Okay, so this is the thing that drives me nuts about the NDP, about just we need affordable now, we need affordable. Like, you have to understand how economics work, and it tends to be that people that are liberal NDP, the intentions are always great. The math is bad, right? It's bad math. You can't just drop this relief housing on this parking lot like they did. And I'm sure they're not going to say it, but the city of St. Catharines is regretting it, right? When they opened this thing up on Riordan, so for those of you who don't know, there was an empty parking lot across from a tent city, right? They took a lease out on this parking lot and they dropped all this modular housing there, okay? This was the great solution. They shut down a lot of the shelters. Does anyone know Fred Bowring?
Yes.
Yeah?
Did you try to get in contact with him a little bit during your election time?
So I want to talk to him. I messaged him on Facebook. We didn't connect, but I want to ask him because he was selling this. This poor guy froze to death because the shelters were closed.
That's my family grew up with Bob is the gentleman that passed away, and we did get in contact with Fred because my mom, and he's a dear friend of my parents, so it was an easy contact. And I had said to Jimmy, go talk to him and see. Like, he's really right now into doing the indigenous stuff.
Yep.
The community's giving him a hard time about cleaning up needles, which seems so silly because he does make a huge difference in the cleaning up and people doing that.
Giving a hard time with cleaning up. Is that racist or something? Cleaning up
Yeah, I
needles?
think he's like gearing his attention more towards like some native indigenous work right now because he was running into trouble with cleaning up the needles.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I know, it's so backward.
Rob, he was also involved with that, everybody heard the Anita Fred Johnny.
Yep.
He got killed. He was the guy that kicked the door down with Johnny's sister. Into that house that found Johnny in there.
Yeah, and they purposely left Johnny's body in
Yeah.
that building because they knew it was gonna get condemned. They covered his body in debris and garbage for 9 days because they hoped that no one would find the body before the building had gotten condemned. Yeah.
No, is the government official?
No, this was a house on Northern Avenue.
Yeah.
This is a help?
Yeah, this
Was
was
a
a gentleman that struggled with addiction.
In St. Catharines, can you speak up? Because there's people over here that can't hear you.
No, they hit the body.
It was the people that lived there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
Sorry.
what I'd like to know. Ooh.
There's a whole article, there's lots of articles
Yeah,
on it.
Johnny Concrete. Yeah, Johnny
Okay.
Concrete, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
Uh,
smokes.
So, well, I want to connect to them because he was saying, yeah, these shelters got shut down because this Riordan Crescent was the jewel that look what we're going to do. And okay, so it housed, I think, 70 people. There's still the tent city in the park across the street. And now the other issue is that all the people that own houses around that parking lot are going to have a very hard time renewing their mortgages when it comes up over the next 1 or 2 years. And if they can't get financed, they're going to be homeless. And if the banks don't touch those places because the values drop significantly because there wasn't the right amount of thinking behind it, they're going to be out of a house, right? So we're not really fixing the homelessness, we're creating more
And that for all
problems.
that apartment building, the right beside Gilchrist, and they kind of they're moving people, it's a cop, or the ambulance is there every hour now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a mess on the street.
So,
So, Dawn, have you thought about talking to the mayor of St. Catharines, Matt Cisco, about this? Because I think this is a great.
we've
segue.
talked about it. I've talked to Matt.
Because he's endorsed Doug Ford. I mean, there's three Niagara mayors
yeah.
that think Doug's gonna bring it home.
They all did, and I don't think that's the case, but I kind of explained why too while I was campaigning. You're going to have massive stagnation, like I talked about, right? That's going to be a problem. But we have to. They're doing this MDC, the Municipal Development Corporation, which will help. It's not going to get help so much from Doug Ford, I don't think. The problem with Doug Ford is that, as we know, like the New Blue has said, that it's the lobbyists that are running on Ontario, right? They're running Parliament. And most of the lobbyists, the big money lobbyists, they're coming from developers in the GTA, and they're pushing for stuff. That's why they dropped the rent control and didn't really touch anything else in the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal that needed reform.
Yeah.
So that's so the big developers can build fast, put teaser rates, and then crack the rent up, right? It's not. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get a lot of this stuff in the landlord and tenant abolished, but it's got to be done like reasonably in a way that would help everyone, right, and not be tearing the Band-Aid off too fast.
Fixes don't last, and they don't, like, it's a quick fix, it's not gonna work for long.
Well, yeah, and everything the government tries to do to fix it is typically not. Well, it's like this Ryder thing. Like it ends up becoming a bigger problem, right? You have to let the market do what it's supposed to do and get out of the way. So another example of this is CMHC was so happy they announced these wartime strawberry box house catalog, right? So this was Sean Fraser.
Yes, that's who stepped down.
He way overdue. Like that guy should have been. We were mailing him as a developer in St. Catharines. We were emailing him like almost on a weekly basis for the past 2 years, trying to get some policy changes that would build some more housing, and they were ignored. And then he did when they dropped that housing accelerator fund on St. Catharines. They did it on our site. They wanted to do it on our site, on our building, to look at how we're building stuff. Well, we didn't have any help from them, but we let them use the site. And we let them use the site thinking that maybe they would then get us the meeting with Sean Fraser. This is Chris Biddle, right? And we still never got that. We still never got that meeting. Anyway, so this catalog finally is getting almost introduced now. And it's not going to do anything. That was their solution for building houses, for speeding up development. It's not. But so the idea is, because planning and building permits take some time, they would give you like a dozen houses to choose from that were all pre-approved. So you can go down to the planning department and just pick one on the catalog, and then not have to go through all the length of building permits because it's already pre-approved. So they thought that would speed things up, right? 2 years ago, it still hasn't been released, but that was like the only real thing they did. It's not going to do anything. And the funniest thing is, there's builders now that are ready to build. We need financing, but they're ready to build in precast structures. So who lives here in the Falls? Do you guys see how fast that building went up there?
Yeah, we live there.
Across from Cogeco?
Blocks away.
Yeah? Oh, not in the building, but close, right? It went up like
Oh, I know.
amazingly.
We left to Tennessee, visit our daughter, church is down, we left again, come back, but again, yes, it's precast.
It's precast steel, so they just, it's built in a factory
Yep.
by I toured the factory, really good people, smart people. They drive the piece over,
Yep.
lock it down, seal it, another
Yep.
site holdings factory built, and they drop it on a lot. It was
Yep.
so fast.
Yep.
They have this program, like a fast track program, where they're doing just that. They have it, but they can do it for high rises, and they have a catalog of different units. You plug them in, and they go. So what the government was trying to do, the free market already did. They've already did it 2 years ago. And the government's still putzing around with this stuff. And they don't even have it done for high rises. They have it done for little houses. Well, that's great for Niagara Falls where you guys have land, but for St. Catharines, there's no land. So that doesn't help us in St. Catharines at all. There's nowhere for these
Yeah.
boxes to go,
Yeah.
right? We have to go up. So again, it's one of those one-size-fits-all solutions that the government throws out, and yeah, it doesn't
Well,
work.
I'm finding a lot of the dilapidated buildings in St. Catharines have been sitting there now for like months on end, and I haven't heard of anything. The YMCA is a really big one at the Prairie Mall.
Yep.
So that's a funny.
It's been empty for a year.
That-
And it's like dilapidated, and I just look at that building and think, what are they doing with that space?
That's been longer than a
So-
year. Why shut down at
Funny is one way to
Oh,
put
I
it.
shut down for longer than
That would be
There-
perfect.
That's
The
been longer
YMCA
than a
would be
year.
perfect because it has like little spaces that you could actually have a session with somebody to help you with your mental health or whatever, right?
That's what I
Good
was
building.
thinking.
So
When I
the-
drive by the building every
Yeah.
day.
The YMCA, this was bought up by a GTA developer who thought they were going to build something ridiculous, 40 stories or something, and they can't. They don't know what they're doing, right? And this is what I mean. The big GTA developers, they're helped by the Doug Ford government, and a lot of them, they come down, they don't know what they're doing, right? And all this, like the Standard published an article, I think about a month ago, about all these towers that are going to go up in downtown St. Catharines. They're not going to go up.
And what's happening with the old hospital side of Kingston?
That I don't know about that. That I'm not sure about. I got knowledge about a lot of sites, but that one I'm not sure.
Or Central's old building on Scott Street, Scott and Geneva.
Yeah, that's supposed to be part of a 15-minute city, isn't it?
I was telling Adam about this at Rodman Hall. I don't know, but you've got to be careful when you're talking about that, because it's going to be hard to tell when they're 15-minute and when they're not, right? So
True.
it's going to be a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
The one thing I think that you have to look out for is who's funding it. So if the financing is done by CMHC, there's a chance it might be, because the CMHC, the Liberal government, has put in a lot of weird ESG stuff into that financing. That's going to be one. But it's going to be hard to tell on the surface, because again, St. Catharines is a landlocked city. It's only going to go up, right? And the downtown has to be built so it's more walkable, right? So there's not people feculating on front door shops. That's what's happening right now, right? So it's got to be improved and it's got to be walkable. So there's a difference between a walkable city and a 15-minute city, okay? 15-minute city is basically controlled, surveillance, you're forced in, and you're tracked and everything's, that's the way it is, and it's forced upon you. The walkable city is let the market do what it's supposed to do, build intensification, help the planners improve the area, so now we get people that want to go down there, not forced to go down there, right? A long answer, but I'm not sure about that site though, I gotta look into that. But there's a lot of stuff downtown St. Catharines that the city has been good with the Municipal Development Corporation. They're, knock on wood, they've been good so far, and we hope it keeps going that way, but they've got a lot of sites in downtown that they want to work with developers on building stuff. Building all levels of housing, building affordable, building assistance-based, building, mid-market and then high-end, but we need to have all of it, right?
Yep.
And yet, I live in, I guess Angie and I and Dominic, I joke and I say, we live in a 15-minute city. It takes 15 minutes to drive from one end to the other.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, St. Catherine's got to make a weird zigzag pattern to get everywhere.
It's all the trails.
There was a big development plan on Montrose in the north end of Niagara Falls where one of the Canadian Tires was. So there was one on the cloud that they tore down. Well, it's been converted or someone else's. What is it?
What, the
Jerry
Canadian Tire
Store?
on Cloud Road? No, Canadian Tire, they tore down. That's
Yeah, they tore down.
That's on
So that was supposed to be developed for senior housing. All last summer, because I worked that last summer, all last summer, all you saw was soil being moved from one side to the other, compacted. Gone bankrupt.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's this big, huge flat thing and I've got to figure out, maybe we have to do an FOI, Freedom of Information.
Yeah.
Down at City Hall, to figure out, is this going to be like the empty field forever and ever and ever? Or is that developer going to kind of like sell off whatever the land value is?
Oh, it's
Huh.
like Honolulu all over again.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's like, it's so funny because everybody was excited. And the really strange thing was, Taco Bell opened up where the Swiss Chalet closed down. And there's a pure and simple breakfast place. They opened up figuring out, oh, that's going to be a lot of, people who want something fast, whatever. Because there's an A&W on the other side. There's a Harvey's in that same plaza. There's a Burger King across the street. And I'm thinking, why the heck does Taco Bell want to open up at the north end of the falls? I guess they were figuring out that we're going to have a ready-made community that wants to have something, quick and easy. Didn't happen. I look at that place and I never see it busy with Taco Bell.
I didn't know there was a Taco Bell there.
It's,
The sign is in the wrong spot.
Huh.
but I think it's the wrong place to be in the falls because that north end, you have a lot of seniors and they're like Taco Bell's not their thing.
Not that, yeah.
They like the Swiss Chalet, but then when the prices went up after COVID, all of a sudden lunch became the new dinner.
Yeah.
So you're going out to buy a quarter shipping deal and it was running you $22.
It wasn't for the money that location shut down.
What?
It wasn't for the money that location shut down.
Why did it shut?
We frequent, and I know some of the servers at the Swiss Chalet at Fairview Mall.
Okay.
When we lived in that area, and now that we live here in Niagara Falls, we went to the one in Niagara Falls on Montrose, and after it shut down, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So we went to the Swiss Chalet in St. Catharines and spoke with our server that's there, and she said that one couple owned 3 locations. The Niagara Falls, Montrose, Fourth Avenue.
Yeah.
And one other location, which I don't know which one, and he died, and she was left with everything, and she closed down and
Yeah, it was very
closed the
sudden.
2 of them,
It was
and
very
just
sudden.
kept one open, which I thought really weird that Swiss Chalet franchise didn't throw somebody
Didn't
else
come
in
and pick it
there.
up, yeah.
Because that was the perfect location for Swiss Chalet.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it
prices going up may have been part of it, but it was because she
well,
couldn't handle it.
I didn't know that, but the whole thing is.
Yeah,
Okay, that's private business.
yeah.
And I think what we're after is where should the government get involved, for what reasons, subsidizing
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
projects. This is the key. Let the Swiss chalets all go under if they're going to go under.
Yeah.
They can't manage themselves.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of restaurants in this world that people aren't going to starve because of lack of restaurants.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be your best food ever.
No.
So, get back to the meat of the problem. What can we do about the issues? Like you're saying, let the government get out of the way, private industry handle the projects. There's plenty of land in St. Catharines, like somebody mentioned.
Well, there's
Parking
not.
lots, this and that, abandoned
Yeah.
buildings. YMCA is a perfect
Well-
example. There's no will, it seems. And
The school that got demolished right beside ESPN, built there.
No one,
Right.
no one
There's
wants
a
to
field
build in
there.
St. Catharines.
But when you nobody, in terms of private developers, contractors, don't want to build here.
I think because it's a woke city with a woke
It's
city council.
So if there's a need, the private industry can fill it
I
if
think
you're
so,
given
yeah.
some incentive.
If there's a demand,
See
for
money
sure.
in it.
Yeah. Yep. If there's a demand for something,
So
it'll happen.
basically, regulations have to be
Yeah.
simplified, the process has to be streamlined.
Yep.
I have a question for you. So
Yep.
now that you're going to continue, and there's X amount of people that, like Jenny Stevens is here, I don't know who else is here. What's stopping you from getting a round table together and discussing it together, even with people in the community, to say, we need to get a plan, it needs to be action with a building that's already here, like the Delta Bingo that is owned by Loblaws, the YMCA, there's a few other different places. Why can't there be a discussion get the community to support you, to say this has to be dealt with. I just don't understand what the holdup is, and if you just proposed it to Jenny Stevens and whoever else is local in the Niagara region, to have a monthly roundtable to set a strategic plan and get this going.
I would be happy to have that, and we have a plan. Talking to Jenny Stevens is not part of it. Because because it will get me nowhere.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that I don't think I'm sure personally you should watch this later on YouTube or wherever.
Yeah.
She's probably a great person, but as far as getting anything done, I think that every other candidate as far as getting something done is completely useless because they're just career politicians, right? And the stuff moves just too slow. My aim is we're going to finish this building, we're going to keep building more, and we're going to do it at a faster pace. And my goal is to embarrass them at how fast we get it built and show how slow the government works. So people can finally see, oh hey, maybe we should just get out of their way and let the market do what it wants to do.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So, building faster. That's what we propose. That's what I'm going to work on, and I want to do it. Like I said, I will be writing to them, saying that this is what we're doing. We're laughing at you. You guys look dumb.
Yep.
And if you want to sit down with us, you absolutely can. And if not, that's fine. We're going to keep embarrassing you. It's nothing personal. It's just I've been writing to politicians for the past 2 years, getting nowhere. So. I'm not giving up on what we want to do. I'm just giving up on that approach because they're useless. So I'd be much
That's
happier.
sad to hear, and people should know that. People should know that who voted for her, right? And that should be exposed, right? So I'm hoping that you do continue with your podcast and show the progress of what you're doing and all the steps, and show that this can be done, and how this can be done, and how fast it can be done. So I'm very proud of you for sharing that.
Thank you.